The wind howled across the snow-covered valley as dawn slowly broke over the rugged wilderness of New Zealand's South Island. Frost clung to the tall pines, and the earth was buried beneath an unexpected winter storm that had swept in overnight. For most, it was a morning to stay indoors beside a warm fire. But for 72-year-old Thomas Hale, a retired forest ranger with a heart as vast as the land he had protected for decades, it was just another day to check the trails and ensure no living soul had been left stranded by the storm. Thomas had lived near the forest edge for over 40 years. Widowed and quiet, he found companionship in the rhythms of nature. The crunch of snow beneath his boots, the distant call of birds, and the whisper of the wind through branches. That morning, as he walked slowly along a frozen clearing, something unusual caught his eye. In the distance, near a fallen tree half buried in snow, he saw movement, faint, weak, and desperate. Approaching carefully, Thomas felt his breath catch in his throat. There, trembling in the icy wind, was a kangaroo, far from its native Australia, likely part of a small private wildlife sanctuary nearby that had been damaged during the storm. The animal's fur was dusted with frost, her powerful legs weakened by cold. Nestled against her body, barely visible beneath her protective stance, was her tiny cub, shivering and fragile. The storm had clearly caught them off guard. The sanctuary fences must have collapsed during the night, and in their panic, the mother and her joey had wandered into the open wilderness. Now they were trapped in a climate far harsher than they were meant to endure. The mother kangaroo tried to stand tall, protective despite her exhaustion, her instincts screaming to shield her baby at any cost. Thomas removed his thick wool scarf and slowly crouched, speaking in a calm, steady voice. Years of working with wildlife had taught him patience and respect. He knew fear could turn even the gentlest creature defensive. "It's all right," he murmured softly, keeping his movements deliberate and slow. The mother kangaroo's sides heaved as she watched him, uncertain but too drained to flee. Carefully, Thomas draped his scarf over the tiny cub first, shielding it from the biting wind. Then he removed his heavy outer coat and gently wrapped it around the mother's shoulders and back. The cold bit sharply into his own skin now, but he didn't hesitate. Survival, he knew, was often a race against time in conditions like these. Using a sturdy rope from his pack, he fashioned a loose guide, not to restrain, but to gently assist the weakened mother in standing and walking. With immense effort, she arose, trembling but determined. Thomas moved slowly beside her, guiding her step by step through the deep snow. Each stride was labored, each breath formed clouds in the frigid air. The trek back to the sanctuary outpost cabin was long and grueling. Snow reached nearly to Thomas's knees, and more than once he stumbled, catching himself before falling. Yet every time he faltered, he looked at the tiny cub peeking from beneath his scarf and found renewed strength. The cub's small eyes blinked up at him, unaware of the danger it had survived. After nearly an hour, the outline of the ranger cabin emerged through the trees. Inside, Thomas quickly prepared blankets, warm water bottles, and a safe enclosure near the fireplace. He gently settled the mother and her joey onto thick bedding, keeping the room quiet and dim to reduce stress. Gradually, warmth returned to their bodies. The cub shifted closer to its mother, now breathing more steadily. Thomas contacted the sanctuary owners, who arrived shortly after with veterinary systems. The animals were examined and declared stable, though mildly hypothermic. The sanctuary staff were overwhelmed with gratitude. The storm had caused widespread damage, and they hadn't yet realized 2 of their animals were missing. News of the rescue spread quickly through the small community and later across social media. But Thomas avoided interviews and praise. Anyone would have done the same, he insisted quietly. To him, it wasn't heroism, it was responsibility, a shared duty between humans and the natural world. In the weeks that followed, the story inspired a local wildlife awareness campaign focused on emergency preparedness and animal protection during extreme weather events. Donations poured into the sanctuary, allowing them to reinforce enclosures and build climate-controlled shelters. Schools invited Thomas to speak about compassion for wildlife and the importance of coexistence. Yet Thomas remained humble. Each morning, he continued his walks along the forest trails, listening to the wind and watching for signs of life that might need help. The wilderness, he believed, was not something to conquer, but something to protect. And somewhere beyond the repaired fences of the sanctuary, a mother kangaroo and her once freezing cub thrived, living reminders that even in the harshest storms, a single act of kindness can warm the coldest winter. Because true heroism isn't about recognition, it's about choosing compassion when no one is watching.